Listen carefully, because growing older doesn't usually happen the way most people imagine. One day, without any dramatic warning, your body may still be breathing, your heart may still be beating, and yet pieces of your life can begin quietly slipping away. Not because of a major illness, not because of a sudden accident, but because of small daily habits that slowly steal your strength, your confidence, and your independence. I'm Robert. I'm 84 years old, and over the years, I've noticed something fascinating about aging. I've seen people in their 80s who still drive themselves to the store, remember every grandchild's birthday, prepare their own meals, and laugh with the same energy they had decades earlier. And then I've seen others who seem to disappear long before their final day arrives. Their world becomes smaller, their conversations become shorter, their movements become slower, their connection to life begins fading. What surprised me most was discovering that this decline often doesn't start with disease. It starts with ordinary habits that seem completely harmless. Researchers sometimes refer to exceptionally healthy older adults as superagers, but the truth is most of them don't look extraordinary. They're not spending hours in the gym. They're not chasing expensive anti-aging treatments. They're simply protecting a few daily routines that keep their mind, body, and spirit actively engaged with life. And that's what many people miss. The habits that help us age well are usually small. The habits that speed up decline are small too. Aging rarely arrives like a storm. More often, it arrives like a slow leak. Today, I'd like to share 6 habits I've consistently noticed among older adults who remain mentally sharp, emotionally resilient, and physically independent well into their later years. The first habit may sound almost too simple, yet it changed my life more than I ever expected. People who age successfully make morning sunlight part of their daily routine, before television, before social media, before the endless stream of negative headlines. They open the curtains, they step outside, they allow natural daylight to greet them at the beginning of the day. Several years ago, after my wife Margaret passed away, I fell into a pattern I barely noticed at first. I started sleeping later. The curtains stayed closed. The house remained dim for most of the morning. Many days I sat alone in silence, drinking coffee while scrolling through upsetting news stories. At first it felt harmless, but little by little things began changing. My sleep became irregular. My motivation disappeared. Even simple tasks felt heavier than they once had. Then one morning my granddaughter visited. She walked into the living room, looked around, and asked, "Grandpa, why is it always so dark in here?" It was such an innocent question, but it stopped me cold, because for the first time I realized she was right. The house felt dark, and if I was honest with myself, so did I. Sometimes the earliest sign of decline isn't physical weakness. Sometimes it's withdrawal. That morning I opened every curtain in the house. Sunlight poured into rooms that had been hidden in shadow for months. The entire space felt different, more alive, and strangely, so did I. Today, researchers understand that morning light helps regulate sleep cycles, mood, energy levels, and cognitive function. But beyond the science, it does something deeply human. It reminds us that another day has begun. It sends a message to the brain that life is still moving forward and that we're still part of it. Now let's talk about the second habit. This one seems incredibly simple, yet it can have a powerful effect on how older adults experience stress. People who age well often begin their mornings gently. A warm cup of tea, a glass of warm water, a few minutes of stretching, a peaceful moment by a window. As we grow older, the nervous system becomes more sensitive than many people realize. I learned that lesson one winter morning. I woke up feeling sluggish and decided to drink a large glass of ice-cold water immediately. I thought it would help me feel alert. Instead, I felt tense. My stomach felt uncomfortable. My hands became stiff. And for nearly an hour, I felt oddly unsettled. It wasn't a major event, but it taught me something important. After a certain age, the body often responds better to gentleness than shock. Now my mornings look very different. I heat water slowly. I hold the warm cup in my hands. I sit near the window and watch the neighborhood come alive. 10 quiet minutes. Nothing complicated. Yet those few minutes have become one of the most valuable parts of my day. Because many older adults don't become exhausted physically first. They become exhausted emotionally. Worry, loneliness, uncertainty, the constant noise of modern life. Small calming rituals create a protective space before those pressures take over. And sometimes that simple act of starting the day peacefully can influence everything that follows. Now let's talk about the third habit. And if there's one habit that often determines whether someone remains independent in their 80s or eventually needs help with everyday tasks, this might be it. Older adults who age successfully make protecting their muscle a priority, not because they're trying to look younger, not because they want athletic physiques, because after 80, strength becomes freedom. Several years ago, a friend of mine named George taught me this lesson without meaning to. At 82, he looked perfectly fine from a distance. He wasn't overweight. He stayed reasonably active. Most people assumed he was doing well. Then one rainy afternoon, he slipped while stepping off a sidewalk outside a grocery store. The fall itself wasn't severe. What shook him was what happened next. He couldn't push himself back up. Someone had to help him. A few days later, he told me something I'll never forget. "Robert, that was the first time I realized my body could no longer take care of me when I needed it most." There was pain in his voice when he said it, because loss of strength doesn't begin with disability. It often begins with embarrassment. After the age of 70, muscle naturally decreases year after year. And when meals become smaller, less nutritious, or centered around convenience foods, that decline accelerates. The changes are subtle at first. Carrying groceries feels heavier. Getting out of a chair takes a little more effort. Climbing stairs becomes something you think about instead of something you simply do. Then one day, other people begin noticing the struggle before you do. That's when independence quietly starts slipping away. The older adults I've known who stay capable well into their 80s usually share one simple habit. They consistently give their bodies the building blocks needed to maintain strength. A protein-rich breakfast, eggs, Greek yogurt, nuts, beans. Simple foods repeated day after day. Because strength isn't preserved through occasional motivation. It's preserved through consistency. Every meal is either helping maintain your independence or allowing it to fade little by little. Now let's move to the fourth habit. This one surprised me when I first understood its importance. People who age exceptionally well continue using their hands every single day. They cook, they garden, they write notes, they fold clothes, they repair small things around the house. These actions may seem ordinary, but they stimulate complex networks inside the brain, responsible for coordination, memory, focus, and awareness. Unfortunately, modern life makes it easy to stop doing them. Meals can be delivered. Shoes slip on without tying. Machines perform tasks that once required effort. Little by little, many older adults stop physically participating in daily life. After Margaret passed away, I noticed this happening to me. I stopped preparing real meals. Everything became quick and convenient. Frozen dinners, disposable utensils, minimal effort. One evening, I suddenly realized I hadn't chopped vegetables, written a handwritten note, or completed any meaningful task with my hands in weeks. Life had become passive, and something about that frightened me, because the brain thrives on participation. So I made a change. I started cooking again. I watered plants every morning. I fixed loose cabinet handles. I peeled fruit instead of buying it pre-cut. Nothing dramatic, yet after a few months, I noticed something unexpected. My concentration improved. My memory felt clearer. My days felt more meaningful. Because physical engagement doesn't just strengthen the body, it reminds the mind that it still has a role to play. Now let's talk about the fifth habit. And in many ways, this may be the most emotional habit on today's list. People who remain vibrant as they age continue using their voice every day. They greet strangers. They talk with neighbors. They read aloud. They sing while washing dishes. They find reasons to speak, even when nobody is around. About a year after losing my wife, I experienced something that unsettled me deeply. One evening, I realized I had barely spoken a single sentence out loud for almost 2 days. No visitors, no phone conversations, no casual interactions, just silence. The house felt quiet, but what bothered me more was how quiet I felt inside. Many people fear wrinkles. Many people fear gray hair. But loneliness often causes far more damage than either one. The human brain is built for connection. When conversation disappears, emotional isolation often follows. And isolation rarely announces itself. It settles in gradually. The older adults who stay emotionally healthy understand this. They intentionally create moments of connection. They chat with store clerks. They greet people during walks. They talk to pets. They laugh during simple conversations. These moments may seem insignificant, but they are powerful. Because your voice is more than a way to communicate. It is evidence that you are still participating in the world around you. Before I share the final habit, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Many people spend years protecting their physical health while unknowingly neglecting habits that protect their independence. And the next lesson may help you avoid another one of those hidden mistakes. Now, let's finish with the sixth habit. If I had to choose one habit that ties all the others together, it would be this. People who stay mentally alive continue having something to look forward to every single day. It doesn't have to be big. In fact, it's usually small. A favorite breakfast, a morning walk, a phone call with family, watching birds in the backyard, a weekly football game, a visit to a local bakery. Simple pleasures, simple expectations, simple reasons to greet tomorrow. One of the greatest dangers of aging isn't physical decline. It's losing anticipation. It's waking up with nothing ahead that excites you. Because long before the body gives up, many people stop feeling connected to the future. Their days begin blending together. Everything becomes predictable. Nothing feels worth planning, and slowly their world becomes smaller. Healthy older adults fight against that process. They deliberately create things to anticipate, because anticipation keeps hope alive. It keeps curiosity alive. And perhaps most importantly, it keeps the mind moving forward. So remember this, none of these habits are dramatic. That's exactly why they're easy to ignore. But repeated over months and years, they can profoundly shape how we experience aging. Morning light, gentle routines, strength, purposeful movement, conversation, anticipation, small habits, powerful results. I'm Robert, and thank you for spending these moments with me. Take care of yourself, stay connected to life, and I'll see you in the next video.